killed the market for, of course. So now this had killed the market for, of course.
Um, Good evening, everyone that is watching me from Uganda, and of course, um, good afternoon, good morning, depending on the time zone wherever you are. Um, I'm INNOSSETU, and today is, of course, a Monday. We are starting a fresh week with new vibes. Let me hope your weekend has been so fine. It has been so good. Everything has been moving on well. And for those that things have not been moving on well over the past days, I join you, and of course, I say sorry to whatever that you went through, and I let me hope everything will be well. This is a new week. Um, for those that always watch me from Twitter, and that is the biggest number of people that normally watch us here, please endeavor to subscribe. You normally watch and you don't subscribe. Endeavor to subscribe to our Twitter page. And for those on Facebook, kind of follow and like our page, and of course from YouTube. If you're watching for the first time, it is your first time of watching me, you're seeing me for the first time, I am a new face to you. First of all, I will say my name is INNOSSETU if you're watching me for the first time, and endeavor to subscribe our YouTube channel. Let me know things are moving on well wherever you're watching me from. Yeah, like a lot of things are changing in our society today. We have seen a lot of social, political changes in our societies today. As technology, as the world grows, we yet to see a lot of things. Most of them are legalized. Others, of course, are illegalized. But today, we happen to see in South Africa where we see that today South Africa legalizes cannabis use. Um, we all know that cannabis in South Africa has been, of course, decriminalized for personal adult consumption in private by the Constitutional Court of South Africa. So this, of course, has happened today. However, the law still prohibits its use outside one's private dwelling, as well as buying and selling of cannabis. So regulations of prohibiting the purchase of cannabis containing products remain in effect, raising questions about the enforceability of the ruling. So prior to the lifting of the prohibition of cannabis in 2000 2018, we see that advocates pressurized the government to amend the laws restricting cannabis that were first established in 1922 to allow exceptions for medical use, religious practices, and other purposes. The Africans term commonly used to refer cannabis is daga, and of course, Afrikaner's pronunciation it is daxa, derived from the Khoikhoi word dacha, which was of course adopted by the early European colonial settlers in the Dutch Cape Colony. So, cannabis is believed to have been introduced to Africa by early Arab and Indian traders. Let me repeat this. Cannabis was introduced in Africa by the early Arabs and, of course, all the Indian traders. So it was already in the widespread use among South Africa's indigenous Khoisan and the Bantu people. Before European settlement in the Cape in the 1652, additionally, it was traditionally utilized by the Basotho communities to facilitate childbirth. So we see that Africana recipes for teas and foods incorporated with the use of cannabis. So the plant use was primarily associated with the traditional African populations and individuals of lower economic status. So long-term research conducted by, of course, Medical Research Council indicates that the number of cannabis users in South Africa was 2.2 in just 2004, which increased to 3.2 million people by 2008. And in 2003, we see that Interpol ranked South Africa's world fourth largest cannabis producer, and the Institute for Security Studies reported that significant portion of cannabis seized in the United Kingdom and the third seized globally originated from South Africa. So South Africa for a long time has been termed as a country that uses cannabis to um to a larger scale. We see people using cannabis, like it is very hard to count people if you're moving on a way. Like you, at least the 10 people you're going to meet on the way, 8 of them they are taking this cannabis drug. So the history, we know that the first written record of cannabis in South Africa by the Jan van Riebeeck, who ordered officers to form and to purchase dacha in Natal trade with the Khoikhoi. The Dutch East Indian Company attempted to establish a monopoly on its sale, and to that end prohibited cultivation of the plant by Cape settlers from the 1680s. However, the ready availability of cannabis in the wild and through trade with the indigenous peoples meant that there was little profit to be made. Consequently, the prohibition was lifted in 17,000. So, trading of cannabis and, of course, trading and planting of cannabis has not started today in South Africa. It has a long history. People have been growing this plant for decades, uh, starting from the Arab traders and the Indian traders, even the colonialists that were in South Africa, the Dutch people, they did practice. And of course, actually, these people wanted the monopoly of this kind of drug because cannabis is a drug. However, some people call it natural herb. So we see that lifting during that time of the laws, we see that provincial laws beginning in 1860s, the Natal colony began to import Indian workers called coolies at that time to supplement their labor force. So the Indians brought with them the habit of consuming cannabis and hashish. So which blended with the local extant African traditions. So the European authorities were concerned about this practice, believing it sapped the fertility of workers. Consequently, in 1870s, Natal Coolie law consolidation prohibited the smoking, use, or possession, buy, and they sell, barter, or gift to any coolies whatsoever of any portion of the hemp plant or the cannabis sativa. So we see that both the Cape and the Transvaal colonies restricted the growth of cannabis, which they considered a noxious weed. And in 1891, we see that Cape Colony prohibited cannabis by under the Act of 34. And the Free State outlawed dealing in cannabis in 1903 and in 1908. So Natal began to regulate the sale of cannabis in the in the Transvaal. Daga, like I said, Daga, this is how cannabis is termed in South Africa. So when I say Daga, don't get surprised. So Daga was sold openly and normally by the storekeepers in the mining places. Although, while white farmers did cultivate um, cannabis in the 18th century and early 19th century in South Africa, consumption by farmers themselves was rare. However, even cultivation fell out of favor later in the 19th century, and in 1921, we see that in 1921, serious signs of a moral panic focusing around dagger plant appeared. Centered on the Western Cape, a concern developed about the camaraderie, which led to some to lay aside race and other prejudices with regard to follow drug users. So, the national laws of South Africa, we see that in 1922, regulations were issued under an amended Customs and Excises Duty Act, which of course criminalized the possession and use of the habit-forming drugs, including dagga. Under the regulation 14, we see that the cultivation, possession, sale, and use of cannabis were prohibited. But the burden of proof of any defense against a charge lay with the accused legal. We see that with the accused, we see that contrasted. We see that laws regulating alcohol at that time, which laws placed the burden to prove on the accused, were reasoned that the cannabis regulations were applied differently because they were intended to target black people. What do you mean, cannabis? Cannabis bazungu be bamuleetawo. Do you know that? Hmm? Cannabis ne bano bali bayita Indian coolies abajja constructing. They are the people that introduced cannabis to South Africa and actually most of African countries, because the coolies, we even had them in Uganda here. The Indian coolies. The Indians banywa sigala bikolola. So however, like during that time, during colonial time, we saw that South Africa was producing a lot of cannabis. The whites planted a lot of cannabis. Very many people talk about like these whites were focusing on gold stuff, but these people were planting a lot of cannabis in South Africa during that time. Choka, after like they wanted to monopolize cannabis production or planting, and of course and not consumption, and of course selling of this cannabis. So what these people did, the Batekawa Mateka, they introduced laws that were harsh against cannabis in South Africa. But all these laws, they were looking at black people, because these people were taking cannabis freely during that time. They were selling it, they were exporting it outside Africa freely at their own will and their own pace. So all the laws bali batajetinga bati so that they can live it, because cannabis is expensive by the njaba ya bay. Nako freeze omumozi tekamwakebera kino tuleka freeze. So we see that we see that like I said, uh, like the laws placed the number of burden and proof on the accuser, but we see that following now. But we see that following the 50th session of the League of Nations Advisory Committee on Traffic on Opium and Other Dangerous Drugs, it was at South Africa's wish expressed by the Secretary to the Prime Minister J.C. Van Tien in 1923 that daga or cannabis was included in the list of the prohibited narcotics, which list had, of course, hitherto uh, been almost entirely concerned with opium and derivatives. So cannabis was subsequently outlawed internationally in 1925. We know that, but we see cannabis was wholly criminalized in South Africa in 1928 under the Medical, Dental and Pharmacy Act for political and moral reasons. So in 1937, we see that the government of South Africa by then introduced the Weeds Act, which made the occupant or owner of the property accountable for preventing the growth of cannabis or any other plant classified as weed on the property. So concern about the extent of daga or cannabis use in South Africa continued to grow, resulting eventually in the enactment in 1971 of the Abuse of the Dependence Producing uh, Substances and Rehabilitation Centers Act. So, under the Drugs and Drug Trafficking Act in South Africa of 1992, people found in possession of more than 115 grams of daga or cannabis were presumed to be guilty of dealing. However, following the adoption of the interim constitution of South Africa, courts found that this unjustifiable infringed the constitutionally enriched presumption of innocence and consequently invalidated those parts of the act I mentioned above. So, on 18th September 2018, the South African Constitutional Court decriminalized the use and cultivation of cannabis in the private space in the private space and provided a 24-month period in which the Parliament of South Africa could amend the relevant laws, failing which the court judgment would prevail even though private use of cannabis has been decriminalized. The buying and selling of cannabis oil and cannabis seeds remains illegal in South Africa today. Kitegeera? So, talking about cultivation of cannabis in South Africa, we see that cannabis grows well in South Africa's climate. Okitegeera? So the Bazungus were focusing on a lot of things, even the growing of cannabis. So we see that especially in the Daga belt, by the way, cannabis is called the Daga in South Africa. So an area including the Eastern Cape and the KwaZulu-Natal provinces were where the 2011 International Narcotics Control Strategy report, we see that it is a traditional crop. However, we see that uh, uh, cannabis sustains the entire communities in the rural Eastern Cape, which otherwise survive in subsistence economy. So rural farmers are typically poor and produce low quality local product that is consumed domestically by the lower class. I talk of cannabis. While middle class growers produce product for the rest of national and international marijuana market. So most of the national product is consumed domestically and regionally, but increasing the amount are sized in Europe. They target international market. So a lot of eradication programs were put down about this drug, where we see that the state conducted cannabis eradication program since 1950s. Police initially uprooted dagga plantations and banned the crops, but in 1980s switched to using herbicides, spraying these weed or cannabis, which they would dispense with the handheld pumps. By the end of 1980s, we see that the helicopters replaced ground patrols, and helicopter patrols would release herbicides uh, to these crops and destroy the entire crop in minutes. So we see that uh, uh, their medical use about this drug. And in South Africa, that we see that the medical cannabis products may be prescribed for any health conditions once the presiding physician determines that it could assist in treatment. We see that patients may request medical cannabis through authorized health practitioners who are licensed by South African Health Products Regulatory Authority. So the health practitioner must apply only on their patient before um, before official allowing of this person to use the drug. So once a prescription has been issued to the patient, it can be fulfilled by the pharmacists registered with the South African Pharmacy Council. Okitegeera? So we see that when we look at the emerging markets of this cannabis, we see that it is estimated that the African cannabis market will grow to be worth 7 billion by 2050, with the main stakeholders being Nigeria, South Africa, Morocco, Lesotho, that is South Africa still, Zimbabwe, and the potential growth has acted as a motivation to the legalization, considering the traditional stagnant economic growth of South Africa and a major driving force in the emerging market in the European demand, and Germany being the largest cannabis market in Europe. Kitegeera? So uh, here, by the way, in Uganda, we also Jaba. It's short time. And it's getting a lot of sharing. Um, actually, so here in Uganda, we also had, by the way, that like it's like a year ago now. Like in Uganda, they wanted to legalize the use of actually the planting, but we know that there are people, prominent people that are planting this kind of weed, and they are selling it outside Africa. Hey, natural. We see that people like they are planting this. But in South Africa, we see that besides the large overseas market, which draws many investors into the new industry in South Africa, odimutiza ebadde ekyagi. So we see that the local South African market is providing another avenue for economic growth. So the enforcement plant, locally known as Dagga, has had a long history in South Africa, dating back in the 15th, back in days in the 15s. So this long history of cultivation within the area has led to the plant being socially accepted by many indigenous communities, with its acceptance spreading further with South Africa after the decriminalization in 2018. And recently, we see that this is clearly seen with the increase in hobby growers and local small-scale farmers who are curious about the plant. And it is recently, of course, outlawed reputation before the decriminalization of cannabis. We see that procuring the seeds necessary to grow the plant was largely considered illegal and difficult. However, laws allowing people to grow the plant within their own homes, as well as the government's mandate um, to not to exclude the poor out of the industry, has made the procurement of certified quality seeds as a necessity. so 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 that is South Africa. We see that South Africa uh, has legalized the use of cannabis. So the new legislation known as the Cannabis for Private Purpose Act allows adults to grow and consume cannabis in their private residences. However, selling cannabis remains illegal unless it is for medical purposes and of course prescribed by the doctor. So this move makes South Africa the first African nation to legalize the use of marijuana for recreation purposes. So the law also includes provisions for impungement of the past convictions related to cannabis possession and growing. So, katika mbuzeemu, can you, the blacks, give you
The blacks will not run the industry, but will only labor on the farms and buy the product.
So it is the same
It's
thing.
exactly what's going on in South Africa with apparently everything.
It is the same thing that like, can you allow someone to grow something privately, like they allow adults to grow this privately kati onobagana okugituula oba nti nobuno busiru bwennyini. Can you allow someone to grow something and like we allow people to grow but they are not allowed to sell it? Selling remains illegal, however they grow. Kulinga nga kulima mmwanyi kati okkiriza abantu okulima emmwanyi obagaana ozitunda.
That means they want to kill of course, the community, because it doesn't really make sense for a country to legalize the growth of course, this drug, and then does not allow them to. Bwebagamba bwe bakkiriza oddirima tebakkiriza tunda.
The new legislation known as the Cannabis for Private Purposes of Act, it allows adults to grow and consume cannabis in their private residences. However, selling cannabis remains illegal unless it is for medical purposes and prescribed by the doctor. Biri bye mbadde nsoma bye batabadde kaale.
Batugambe mbu bagirigalazinze. Because now if you allow people to grow something and you don't allow them to sell it, that means you're like there are big people who are going to be selling that. Not everyone is going to be allowed to do that. And again, you are giving people the free use. You're giving them that free usage, which may also, because at times we have seen the truth to be told, not everyone can do with the drugs. As much as there's some other people, there's some other people who will take drugs and they are fine, and there are some others who cannot really take drugs. We have seen this, all right, and now that you are giving people free liberty to farm and take them in their own residential premises or private premises, that means you're like giving these people a go ahead to consume it however and in whichever way they find the feed. And because now if they are not looking at the economical part of cannabis. I don't know what is the essence of growing cannabis, and then you don't want people to sell
Cannabis
it.
for private.
It creates a black market. Yeah,
Ate nga bakoze
exactly.
abagagga.
It creates a black market.
So so like these people, the private people they are talking about that are going to grow this drug without benefiting, uh, without putting those benefits like selling, like to allow someone to grow. You don't allow someone to sell it unless it is for medication, and you must be.
And they have not decided how large should you grow. That means they're like people.
Uh, for me, to my thinking, for me, I think there are people in South Africa who have the capacity to grow this drug or to grow this weed to a larger scale. That's why they say for public, because there is no, you can't grow something for I mean for private. You not black market but illegal market. Illegal market.
But even in Zimbabwe, sometimes they legalized that the farming of that
Marijuana.
cannabis.
So there are people, for me, I guess there are people who have the capacity to grow this drug at a larger scale, because South Africa, I've been reading, I've been talking about the history of cannabis in South Africa, and we saw that prior. Uh, during, of course, colonial period, we saw these white people growing this cannabis on large scale. They wanted to actually, they monopolized this cannabis growth on a large scale. Even up to now, the people that are having big chunks of land covered with cannabis in South Africa, they are the whites, and they said it outside. They are the lords, they are the big lords of cannabis in South Africa. They're not black people. So allowing, like growing cannabis for private use, and you grow and smoke for bright, it's like there is a certain kind of like they are preserving a ghost person who is growing this cannabis on large scale and is exporting. Actually, we're yet to see laws actually that are going to follow this legalization of cannabis for private use. We were yet to see laws that are going to, of course, to allocate, to show how cannabis is going to be traded or exported outside South Africa, because people, there are people in South Africa that are having hectares of this cannabis drug. They're having them on big chunks of land. There are people that are known for that, for spreading it of course. So like kuno kulinganga kwekwasa mbu gavumenti bwefaayo ku bantu, bwefaayo ku bantu abanaku.
Markets and legalizing cannabis growing and marketing. Nga naye bo baagala kwefuula. Tosobola kuba muntu kintu awo ogambe abantu balimu ebijanja naye tebabitunda.
Kitegeera
Waliwo
mubirye
omuntu
buli
gwe
for
baagala olumba.
subsistence. They just grow them for subsistence, for home consumption. If Jabba says that if Germany is the largest market, I'm sure they dominate production in South Africa. Collect here. Muka. Dua chichi. Dua chichi. era kyali eri wansi. So Jibjaba from YouTube said that if Germany is the largest market, I'm sure they dominate production in South Africa. This is true. Tugera abagermany nabo babeerako no mu South Africa.
ate n'abazungu bwe bakyasinze production abeeru abo olaba we are having a lot of things that are introduced in South Africa, like the GMOs. It is not the black South Africans who introduced that. And there is something very funny about South Africa. The majority, because the white people, the white South African, like they call themselves the white South Africans, although they want to be South Africans. They don't forget putting white on them, on their race. The white South Africa in South Africa are just the minorities. But these people run the entire economy. They introduce GMOs, they have their own market, their own international market that they usually focus on. Now, cannabis, maybe the government may be issuing that, but we know there are big majorities of big farms that are going to be, of course, selling cannabis both to the local people and international.
Oil. They process it, they refine it. Is it that the local people, they are the people that refine that cannabis?
They are
like like the people they are targeting to be preserving for them also to enjoy. Okitegeera they use like low like cannabis for the private. So should we think that it is the average person in South Africa that refines cannabis in South Africa? Because most of the cannabis they take outside our South Africa is refined. The seeds in Sigo zibafuna.
And looking at a country like South Africa that is filled with a lot of drug use, there is a lot of question that runs. You see, the entire system that was introduced to the Black Americans in America, that whole society community control was done in South Africa. And that's why at times when you look at what is going on in South Africa, it's not far different from what is really happening in the United States, more especially within the black people. They introduced this drug use, and this drug use actually, the drug use wasn't only introduced in South Africa. We were talking about this, but again, South Africa had a higher consumption, and until now, it is very hard for you to stop the drug use in South Africa, where you even find minors using drugs. You find children in schools using drugs, children going crazy, some of them losing their minds, a lot of them becoming addicts. They even become lawbreakers because they are addicted. They have to make sure they find they get money to buy all this. And we see little organizations that are fighting this in South Africa. They have few rehabilitation homes. They are not even sensitizing the community about this. Now we hear the drug. It is okay for cannabis to be legalized because we have seen it has a lot of functions. It has a lot of importances, the health benefits of cannabis. But how are you going to benefit from the cannabis? We know that even with every medicine that you are taking, there should be a prescription. If at all, because I heard that cannabis eyamba ensim, epilepsy. It is good with people who are epileptic. It helps them. I don't know how it is administered, but they got to understand this. The people who are epileptic, actually, in my village, the cannabis helps them. And if you can still it still works on poultry. Sometimes there are cats which behave like they have epilepsy. Have you ever seen a cat that has that kind of sickness? They say there are cats that have the same sickness like epilepsy. The epileptic, they will fall. You'll see a cat trying to convulse and the saliva is coming out. And usually, when the cat is experiencing that, they give them cannabis. And this is how they got to know. So uh-huh. So people who are having that kind of epileptic attacks, they're usually given cannabis. And so when it's a drug, and a lot of different things, it cleanses, it does a lot of different things. But how do you use it for the medical purposes? I think that's the most important thing. That a lot of people wouldn't prefer to enjoy the medical purposes of cannabis than to smoke it. Because you cannot tell me I'm smoking. You don't smoke it for medicinal reasons. It is either you are taking it in tea, you are taking juice of it, you are mixing it something, not it smoke. Now this is where people get it wrong. Someone's gonna say I'm taking a drug, it's a medicine, but you're taking it in an improper way. And most of people who take cannabis usually, last time you are telling me, it is very hard to find someone taking cannabis and they are not mixing it with tobacco. So what is the essence of that? So now, like I was telling you about the consumption of this in African countries. You were telling me when I came in, you told me about the cannabis and how the Indian coolies were, of course, constructing the railway line and whatever.
I mean, it's just not true.
Toda abantu denatula kateba comment ngoba mu office yobo ngoba nawe.
Nakubira kifuna ky'otuulako ekigonda oyinza okwogera ku maddakiika abiri ng'otudde.
Leave me alone.
Akatawulo kaleseeyo.
Katawulo ako tekatira bulungi. Nsigaye n'omugato oguliko ettaka.
For me, when I was growing, by the way, gundi cannabis lyesada. Lyesada lyennyini. Essada yeja. Essada like nti cannabis lisada, essada yeja. Enjaga eno eya bulijjo. So when I was growing up, we used to have a lot of men around the place that we grew up from. They were taking that cannabis, and it is the sada stuff I'm talking about. So I wanted to confirm. So
Our president
twagigiranga nange nga mwembi nga tugidurayingira mu musenyu.
abo bonna boliko abo banywenja.
So during that time we used to nagamba nti grows waliwo embizi. So we used to grow it ate tugikuula yonna yonna and we used to dry it in the sun. Nga tugidurayingira mu sande nga tugiteeka mbulaganye tugiteeka mu sande within 3 days omusana gwasa bulungi obeekasa tuzigyayo nga tugitunda bakubamu ekiddo.
A lot. There is a place there in our area where they plant that thing, and it's known. It's in sugarcane plantations around because there is a sugarcane factory. My first time seeing that, actually, there are a lot of things that I didn't even know. Katingoyo mida. Mida no molavia nkuze. There are a lot of drugs here that I've just seen. But hey, it's crazy. It's not that I've not been exposed or what. I've lived in a community which is a little bit, and it's not that people by the people in the up countries or villages they take that cannabis and they grow it. I had not seen that until I was born, not long ago. Like, I think my first time seeing cannabis was like 5 years ago. And those are the drugs that people usually do. I just saw someone was arrested actually, and he had the entire 100 kilogram bag full of that, and he was a very old man. And growing up where you live in a community that condemns that, I felt like that was so evil for someone to have that. How can people be taking that? Really, I thought it was so evil and all that. But as I kept on, having interactions with different people, I realized that at times there are a lot of people who take these things, and actually the biggest population of people do, more especially men, more especially men. They take weed. We have seen prominent people taking weed, members of parliament, doctors taking weed, doctors. We have seen a lot of people doing this thing. Now, when, of course, we had, my mom told me a story that those days when they were growing up, a lot of men used to smoke that weed. But most of them would smoke it because they felt like it would give them energy, more especially when they're going to farm. You just said that old man was running weight, 100 kilograms. Yeah, it was a sack. It was a sack. And I was, baffled, like how the dude was so old. And remind your viewers to follow all local laws concerning cannabis. Thank you. So we have seen this thing. Mom said sometime back there are men who used to consume that, especially the farmers. Now I'm going to take you back to the story I wanted to tell you guys. When this cannabis use or the drug use was introduced in Africa by but Indians were good at doing that, and the whites would smoke that in a pipe and whatever. When that thing was introduced, first of all, they introduced it to the military. If at all, you see with what the drug, I don't know, but I know it wasn't only cannabis. It was with another drug. If at all people who were there at that time describe how some military officials used to behave, you would only understand that some people were on drug. And lack of people not knowing what was going on, some of them would say they are possessed. Um, my mom tells me a story that when they were little, they had this, there was a war, and South Sudan really was also involved a lot in the conflicts here. And of course, some Indians. So, the British, sorry, the government that was in power at that time, they were fighting, and they were, of course, using other people to help. Now, Jib Jab Kangambe Jib Jab of sharing. So, there is a man that used to eat young chicks, the chicken.
Labufumba.
Ngaburiye bubisi.
That is not marijuana. That is not cannabis.
No, let me tell you. If someone can run mad and undresses himself, not do street. It's like that dude, whenever he would smoke, he would want to eat chicken. He would want to eat good things, chicken, meat, everything. So when this drug was introduced in the community at that time, it was given to military people, and of course for the purpose of wanting them to be strong, fearless, and all that. And from there, it was also introduced to the local people used to grow it. Now, just like it is very hard to find an African family back in the up country, a family that has no sugar cane,
The garden.
a garden. At least there will be like 5, 6, but each family at least has sugar cane.
That has no sugar cane.
Because
Mm.
why do they have this sugar cane? Africans were forced to plant these things. It is very hard for you to find a family that does not have coffee. They were forced to plant these things. Now it is the same thing with cannabis. Africans were forced to plant cannabis, and there is a certain time where and now that's why the government that came in were trying to back sharing Zeda. So I can't. It was very hard to find a family not having cannabis plantations or a few of it, at least behind the yard, at the back of the yard. Others had it in the middle of their plantations because these were things that they were supposed to plant, all right, under the law of the colonialists at that time. So you'd find every household having cannabis. So when, of course, people gained their independence, they started fighting the use of this thing. First of all, there was no market for them, and of course, they are not edible. It is not something you're going to eat and get satisfied. So a lot of leaders that came into power tried so much to fight, and cannabis grows so very fast. It grows very fast, and it doesn't take a lot, really. So the government started to fight this, but you know when a vice comes, it is very hard to fight it. It is very hard to fight a vice. Now the cannabis use still exists in Africa, no matter what, and it is very funny that the biggest consumers of these things here in Africa are actually youths. Maybe because the biggest population are youths, maybe it's okay.
Adults bategeeza South Africa.
And the adult young man, 5, 18 and above. I don't South Africa, I have to go one at 14. So, in our community, when you introduce something, when you introduce such a thing in the community where there is little sensitization, I'm not against people who smoke weed. I'm not against people who smoke weed, but the truth should be told. You see, there are a lot of people who consume weed, and if I don't know why, maybe they are consuming it, and the weed is out of, they get out of control. They cannot control their mind. A biggest population of youth, at least a certain percentage of African young people, at least 75% have ever tried smoking this. And others decide to say, I'm not going to do it. Probably I'm not strong for that and all that. But a biggest population, more especially if you've ever been to boarding schools, if you have ever been to a very busy community, yeah, there is high chances that everyone has ever smoked that weed at a given particular time. But someone decides, and yeah, I'm not going to smoke that. I don't want to do that. Probably doesn't, it's not well with me and stuff. But there are some other people who are influenced. Niga wali kuki ekintu kyo kiikyo ekikulu olina emputtu nyigako ku butaala bukate kaliko tekyaginga ata olaba sokolekerawo kyaja system. So the biggest population of people are doing that. Um, it is okay for someone to want to try a lot of things. Um, but at times I blame. I don't know who to blame because if not, if now the African government is legalizing the farming of this cannabis, but it's not legalizing its marketing, then what is it doing? And probably there is a purpose why it is doing this. And like I said, we know that South Africa is one of the countries that is known for huge drug consumption. And then we also know Nigeria, we also know the northern part of Africa does that. But a lot of people consume that shit. A lot of people do it.
Zimbabwe, Lesotho, Morocco,
Zimbabwe legalized that.
Nigeria.
And for them, they are growing it and also selling it. They legalized growing and selling it. So if you can grow it at an extremely larger scale, you can sell that. It is very funny for a country that is not, of course, has failed to handle its food production, again legalizing cannabis, growth. South Africans are hungry. They're going without food because they have not concentrated on the, of course, farming of consumption or traditional foods or food that they can consume. A country which, of course, was struck when we had, of course, the Russia war with the Ukraine, because it was getting much of its food from Ukraine. Wheat. A country filled with the African people. Wheat is not is something that African people depend on. Now, a country like South Africa, that of course probably maybe most of them depend on bread and or whatever it is, it has not concentrated on farming of food, which of course I know why. Most of their fertile lands were taken from them and they were made squatters on their own land. All right, and the white South Africans took this whole land and they started carrying out their own farming system. Most of the things they plant or most of the things they cultivate are things that are for commercial purposes. Now, South Africa still is introducing the cannabis use. They have not limited at which amount should people cultivate this, or at which land scale should they farm this, but it is okay for you to do
As
that.
long as it's
A
private,
country
it is private.
that should be emphasizing on the local people having their own traditional food, or at least someone to sensitize the people to have a small farm at the back of their backyard, because they're struggling with this whole thing. And then you are giving legalization of growing cannabis, but not for economical purposes.
Let's go slowly. What is what do they mean, or what does it mean to grow something privately and to grow something publicly? Because we have seen a lot of eradication programs in South Africa where we see South African police using choppers with herbicides to spray gardens.
Bazungu gardens.
To spray these gardens that are, of course, that are having what? Cannabis. That are growing cannabis. So what should we understand? Like Chiche Bategeza, what do they mean by private growing, like growing and private smoking? Do we have public growing or public planting? I think
When it's
people
gonna
grow
be?
these things in their private places. They don't grow them in public. So it means we are not going to see police anymore spraying cannabis.
No, this is just a political word. Because if I decide to have my own land, even if it is 10 to 20 hectares, it is my private land,
Yeah.
right? So I'm gonna grow whatever it is I want. If at all I've been, that's why I'm saying they have not limited, or they have not said this particular, amount. But we are still going to see people spraying this. I think when they try to, of course, say that they're not legalizing the market, is of course maybe people should not go like in our traditional markets like Africans, and you are putting cannabis on a display.
But trade is going on.
But trade is definitely going on. Like Ajib Jabba said, black market,
Illegal
market. Trading is still going to go on. It's because who is going to consume all that? Trade is still going to go on. It has been going on. It is still going to go on. And except now we are going to have a lot of
whatever it has been legal, and German has been, of course, the highest consumer of the cannabis products, or direct cannabis from South Africa. So what are we going to expect after legalizing private?
We are going to accept a lot of use within the local people. People who are addicted to such kind of drugs, they rather go hungry but do the drugs. They rather go hungry but smoke. A country like South Africa that has had high crime rates and high drug use, we expect to see a lot of young people involving in this.
And among all African countries, why is it that we see South Africa legalizing the use of cannabis first?
Is it the first to legalize that? But in these other countries where they are farming it, can you farm that and stop people from smoking it? There are some laws there are some lame laws that people are doing that actually are not gonna work.
Nation to legalize marijuana for recreation purposes.
For recreation.
Kale nga si bya ddagala si byaki.
Ate kati ng'okunywa bakuganye ndowooza recreation eddagala. Ate okunywa nga bakuganye, okwesanyusa nga bakuganye, babagambye mulime buli.
Balime bakozese naye nga balime private way. Allows adults to grow and consume.
Their private residences. It can't work. It can't work like that.
Like what makes South Africa so special to legalize? I think there are political and economical interests that are behind all this.
Even if they legalize it or not, South Africa has been doing it, and on an extremely high level. Like I was saying before, we had the colonialists are putting this, giving this as a dose to all people working in their military. All right, and it was okay for them to do this. So there is always a reason. There's always a reason why drugs are emphasized. Because the truth to be told, not everyone can control their drug use. Not everyone can control their drug use. We've seen people consuming drugs. Someone consumes drugs to the point that even their sweat starts to smell the drugs.
You normally see those guys on the streets. They are ever with hankies. I know hankies with small bottles on their nose. Tebatemya. Tobalabako.
Tebalabangako.
Tobira batadde wano obucupa naawe. Tobira batadde wano obucupa tebatemya. Obalirako mafuta ga nnyonyi nga banyusa mafuta ga nnyonyi n'eggulu.
Olaba ebintu ebitategeerekeka.
Okimanyi n'eggulu nti akuba.
Ggulu
ono w'engatto gwe bateeka ku ngatto. Wanda kibe nti bamununza. No, ask Jibijaba. Ggulu w'engatto. Ne bamununza.
Omunusa otya because super glue the moment
bamuteeka mu
empewo
kacupa
bamuyitaako
bamuteeka mu kacupa asumulako katini katini
omuteeka mu kacupa nasigala ng'ali mazzi oba it still
nga
solidified
bw'ali ng'ali solid gulu ow'engato oyo afaanana alinga it has that color of cream.
I've seen people who are using drugs even if
Kati wali aguma
even when they are not committing crimes they don't develop. Most of them, the only problem they have is to take those drugs. And when they take the drugs, everything is fine. Whether they have been thinking, because it is our thoughts and the need to be better. It is the pain of the heart, the aching of your heart that keeps you pushing. All right. If I sit around right now and I be thinking, what am I going to be in the coming 5 years? And I'm planning. Why do I plan? I want to be something. Now, if I have something that will stop me from thinking, and each time I'm feeling, I'm beginning to have the thoughts, I'm like, let me do it. And then you don't think. That means you're not going to have a purpose.
It just takes, because whenever these drugs are out of your head, still you have to think whether you like it.
No, I'm saying this is where people become addicts. The moment, this is why people become addicts. The moment they feel like they are coming back to their normal senses, they want to smoke again. The moment every time someone wants to be high, every second time someone wants to be high, and at times these are very people say. I don't know
No, I'm just like, according to the people that you see that smoke cigarettes.
I've not seen people smoke cigarettes.
For marijuana, cannabis, for it, it has proof, vivid examples,
I've not really been around people smoking cigarettes. First of all, I hate the way cigarettes smell. I've not been around people who smoke cigarettes a lot. You even showed me shisha last time when we went there. I've not been around people who smoke that pipe shisha thing. I've seen people smoking weed. I've been around people smoke weed. I've sat in a place where I've seen people smoke weed, and I've not been there. I've not been around. I don't know what else people smoke. You're telling me about that super gulu and the fuel, the fuel,
you see how governments
fuel and whatever.
Where do those people get mafuta?
I don't know.
Where do they? When those elements were corrupted?
I don't know.
Like, who are those people saying that?
Mafuta genyoni. I don't know.
Where do those people get that mafuta genyoni? And of course, to supply them to those people, average people. Where do they get it from?
I don't know.
That is just very corrupted.
Genyoni bwevuga amafuta tegazaamu bagajjamu.
How is it transported from the airport? Have you ever seen trucks carrying that mafuta genyoni? But most of the time, when you look on the streets, you see them drive like this.
What is that?
Like your friends were asking about Mijaji. But Empire. Mijaji is put below.
They said Mijaji, not
They say the Mijaji and the Empire. They say the Mijaji. They say the Mijaji. Nalineri wakulunga bansaba Mijaji.
So those guys were spoiled.
Bali basaba Mijaji. Mijaji nakuba nenjaga biwero. Mijaji wakuba, you can even spend 4 days without sleeping.
I know a lady. that I don't know whatever she was putting under her tongue.
Mijagi.
Judge,
It's called mijagi. Mijagi. Mijagi crack. Bagenda gimuleetera. Iyo mijagi bamuteeka anda ate ne pulasita naye amukozesa.
Plaster.
Pulasita wamukozesa.
That's all.
Mulaba. Mulaba. Mulaba.
That
Yo.
thing.
Ola kubeerako ne warning. Warning. Smokeless tobacco is addictive. Smokeless.
It is tobacco.
Yo.
It is tobacco, eh? That means they get tobacco.
This product is not a safe alternative to cigarette for export. Ekitegeera?
Yes.
For what? For export. Only these countries that produce this kind of stuff.
But Indians even do it.
Mhm.
There is a lady I want to tell you. She was usually having that thing, and she developed wounds.
Yo,
But even after those wounds, she was still doing it.
namukozesaako ne nakyali muto naye ayokya omuteeka yasooka n'ayokyamu asooka kwokyayo wansi awo kyebaba baba baluma amanyi nasooka olungamba nnyo n'asooka akwokyayo n'aguma naye akuyingira abeera akuyingira mpolampola ogenda okulira wenna wenna ng'oli so high. Ojja kutya nno ebitagala biriwo opiates.
Victimashi, bidoza.
Ate enjaga bwe batebagisiba olaba batunda enjaga
Rolling weed.
batunda buno ng'eri mu kapapulo redde abagitunda olabika bagitunda
Yeah, I know this weed.
iyo nenjaga bagitunda eri bwete red. Muzungu will smoke cow dung.
I feel like that.
Gwe yagamba nti bamugatta mu gundi ne bakola kisigala ekinene. Gwe yagamba nti bagira oba
American cigarette.
Ani yagamba buno bakwata yali kiifi
Mbozi kiifi.
bakwata oba biwambuzi.
Oba wante nga gundi bwagambye.
Yeah, it must be true. Ne bakola kisigala ekyo ekinene ekyo.
You know, at times I was telling you, me, I've seen people smoke weed, and most of
Singa
this,
bayira nali yagala kweyonoona singa naye sisobola kwakisobola kuvaako nze mwagala gali genda okunzijako najjoko naye nze sisobola kweyonoona nga ndaba naawe.
I've seen people smoke weed, and they get addicted. There is a difference. Someone smoking weed and doing their daily thing. Someone decide that I'll smoke weed in the morning. Some others will fail even to sleep.
According to the people I've seen smoking, let it be weed, let it be what. As long as you see someone like they start by hiding. If you see someone in broad day like he or she no longer hides when taking these drugs, manya addiction emaze omukwata. Manya atandise okubeera addicted. Just know this person now is addicted to this drug. If at all he can no longer hide, if at all the person no longer hide from the parents, from the friends, wife, stuff, if at all they don't manya kati addiction ezze tolina kyomugamba.
Me, I know a friend to my brother. They had a music band. But whenever, actually, he's the first person that took me to a place where they smoke weed. So I was helping my brother to take his musical instrument to the place where they were going to perform from. So he was like, ah, Maria, let's pass here. We were walking, it was a walkable distance. So we passed in that place and he smoked weed. And they were saying, ah, when you sit close to someone smoking it, the smoke fumes in you and all that. But so from there, I saw people smoking it. Now, whenever this guy would smoke it, even if he's playing the guitar or a piano, he will play all off key, different
ate ng'awulira ye
chords,
bitambula.
and his mind was telling him he was doing right. And even he feels his music, he'll
Ye
be doing
yabeera
shit,
enjoying.
and he seemed to be enjoying himself, and he seemed to be enjoying himself. I don't know who told him when he smokes it is gonna do something right, but he kept on doing, and I was like, you know, then we realized he cannot do this. He's not strong enough to do this. But for him, he thought whenever he smokes it,
He
he
does
does
his
the real things.
better.
And he was enjoying his off chords,
Mm.
people are singing in other tunes. He has his own different tune. He's running the guitar differently until they came and removed the guitar from him.
Matabuka.
Now, yeah. And now, when growing up, we always have that need. You can do this. When you smoke weed, you're not gonna be so shy. I wish there was a time where I
Weed,
wished to
alcohol.
socialize with the people, right? Because I had people come home. There is when you feel like someone wants to be close to you, she wants to be your friend, and you cannot give her the vibe that she needs. And at times, there are times when my mom will be like, more especially Naj, whenever Naj could come home, mom will be like, oh, go out with Naj. I mean, because I have there is a lady I grew up with, so my mom liked her a lot. And but at times we'd go in places and I'll be seated. I enjoy listening to music, but at times reaching a place where the kind of music I want to listen to is not played. And then there is a certain kind of music I don't really like. So you find that there is that peer pressure. At times, probably maybe when I do something, I'm going to fit in. So and when I do stuff, I'm gonna fit in. She's someone who takes a lot of alcohol, really. Innocent knows her. She's slimmer. If she's a little bit older than me, but if you see her now, you think like I'm quite older than her. She got that. She's a little bit smaller now, whatever, but she can take like a whole crate of beer, and she still remains standing. She may take like crate how much of measures that be 24 bottles. 0 meals make
Yeah.
bottles 1 liter.
Oh, wait, okay.
I don't know.
Yeah,
But she
1
can
liter.
take
1 liter.
organic make a
24.
24 bottles and she will still remain standing. Now, me, Maria, I'm this kind of person who will even take a quarter of this bottle and I'm already uncomfortable. And I already feel like I'm out of the place. I start being emotional. I start being so emotional about it. And that means everything is now gone to the drain. It is now spoiled, right? So, and then I realized that now I cannot take alcohol. Because if I told you you're taking something and it does not make you happy, then you're taking it. But at times you say, yeah, probably I want to take probably half of this bottle or something. You feel like you want to take something, but I saw there is no purpose of me taking it. Something that is going to make me emotional and all those. I'm not violent actually. When I take alcohol, I may even start crying. It depends on the emotions. I might even get extremely happy. If I remember something that makes me happy, if I remember something that is painful, I may even cry. Now, those are the two things that happen. Now, why should I? To go and shame myself in the presence of other people when you're crying, and probably you're laughing anyhow. It doesn't make sense why you're laughing. But one time, so we were in this music camp. We are taken to a music camp, There is a TV here that was sponsoring young people do music and all that. So I went to this music camp. I think they were choosing, they were selecting those who were performing bass and all that. We were representing in different from different regions in Uganda. So I came with other three boys to represent the region, the western part. So we came in and all that. And it is when I actually tested weed
Really?
the first time.
You did.
How would these people do leader? They would throw it in the fire. Kumana when you mean young.
Bashisha yamukora. Olabye
No,
ebikaka ebibeera mu ndongo. Olowooza nti guba mukka.
bamanyi
Abeera
ba
shisha.
perfume.
Kotidde abeera shisha.
We would sit around the fire and they would be throwing the weed in this fire, and some of us didn't know what was going on. You see the smoke, you see all that. So they would throw this when we are seated around the fire, gathering places. They throw the smoke. It was usually guys who were doing this. But I realized that I was being influenced by something now. Um, from nowhere, I think it's crazy. From nowhere, I feel like like I don't know. I was like forced to do something, and my mind tells me you got to stand up. And then I think about I have dirty clothes in the back that I'm supposed to wash. Now, how crazy this was! It is night, and I'm saying to myself, I want to wash, and I'm saying to myself, I have to clean the entire place where with the dormitories where we were sleeping at, and I'm talking to myself like at night. But something was really controlling me, and I told one of a lady who was sitting next to me that I feel like something is controlling my mind. I was young. I wasn't even up to. I wasn't even up to 18 years. I don't know how.
Quiet.
I felt like something was controlling. I started telling this lady, you know what? You hold my hand. I feel something is telling me to wake up and go and do all these chores. My mind was telling me, wake up to go and wash, do the laundry of all your clothes in your bag, and then clean this entire place. I was seeing every untidy area that I wasn't even seeing before in the dormitory. I was seeing all the things are not in the right place. Like I wanted to arrange everything in order. I knew something wasn't right. So the next day, and then there is a lady who told the girls that these guys are throwing cannabis in that fire where we always gather in the evening. That means we are indirectly consuming this unknowingly. And so I knew that maybe this thing was about to make me, run mad or stuff. I don't know. Maybe I was losing my mind or something. I don't know. So I stopped sitting around that fireplace. All right. So you see, not everyone's mind is very strong for this kind of thing. And if you cannot control your mind, if you cannot control your mind towards the drug use, then there is no use for you to, of course, be taking these drugs. Okay. You're better. Trust me. You're better. You can't go again.
So, um, however much there are a lot of benefits of however much there are a lot of benefits of cannabis. We may talk of or we might have heard of. but there are also the health concerns. And by the way, I think like after gold and of course oil, I think if not the second or the third, we see that cannabis has a place in, of course, in things that are valuable in terms of course, money worldwide. But um, we see that the legalization of cannabis in South Africa, of course, has brought about various social and public health implications. While the Constitutional Court ruled in favor of legalizing recreational cannabis recently, it is also, of course, highlighted that potential negative consequences may of course, consistently uh, still occur in South Africa. We see that the legalization, of course, regulates the medically prescribed administration of cannabis to a child and, of course, protects children from undue exposure to cannabis. However, it doesn't allow for legal marijuana sales, and of course, adults need to cultivate their own plants and can only consume it in their private residences. So, should we think that these private residences where this legalization of marijuana tezirimba they don't have kids? Should we think that they don't have kids? They don't have underage kids, underage people around themselves. So kati kitegeeza lino etteeka nalyo lya kisiru, kitegeera. So um, so these are the concerns that the legalization could lead to increased demand on health and social systems, which were already under strain prior to this ruling. So additionally, cannabis use may contribute to poor adherence to antiviral therapy and management of HIV-related symptoms among HIV-infected individuals in South Africa, as well as worsening the disease of progression for TB, tuberculosis, also infected persons. So it is important to note that while some view legalization as a step towards the discrimination and of course a reduction in the stigma associated with cannabis use, so others worry about the potential for increased substance abuse and its impact on society. We have talked about a lot of things, a lot of effects, consequences of cannabis use in society. So we hope to see a lot of these things happening. I've not seen, and actually, South Africa, uh, when we look at the ghetto areas, however, there's to some extent, to a smaller extent, we see some ghetto parts in South Africa having the white South Africans to a smaller extent, like I said. But most of the ghetto areas in South Africa, they are confined with so we hope to see. Oh, so uh by the way, the issue to me, uh uh we know that we have been seeing a lot of campaigns in South Africa. Like the reason why people have been of course um protesting for legalization of cannabis in South Africa. It's because the people that have been, of course, characterized as criminals in the people that are, of course, that have been abantu that have been considered as criminals due to taking cannabis in South Africa, that have been considered as criminals to taking, of course, cannabis in South Africa. These are average people, abatesobola. So these are people that have been rioting over and over for legalization. For legalization, is the wicked. But there are a lot of rich people that are behind trading of this cannabis within and outside South Africa. I remember we had a guy. The guy was a friend to my brother. This was a guy who has ever been in South Africa for some good time. This guy entered into South Africa illegally. There is a national park they normally pass through when they are going to South Africa. They pass through that national park. Then when that guy went to South Africa, like he was communicating with someone who was in South Africa, was a Ugandan, was in South Africa. Then that Ugandan had a Nigerian boss in South Africa. So they were trading in drugs, this cannabis stuff. So 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 this guy had to go in South Africa. He passed through. He passed through those countries that lead to South Africa. What? Zambia, Zimbabwe, and into South Africa. I said he passed through that national park. He said there is also that. Over it is like it's like a over bridge, over a river. It has a lot of crocodiles. So the guy, when the guy was narrating the story, was like many of his friends he went with from Uganda died from that river. Yeah, the crocodiles ate those people. They passed through that water to cross to that national park. Kaka with them. Owomanyi okugo batomanyi, all of them pass through that water. It is like a river. It is era ndoza bayitamu nga batambula. So they pass through that river. So he was like many of his colleagues. Maybe it was a swampy area. Bayaga river. So they crossed that river to that national park. But many of his friends died through. They died within that water. The crocodiles ate them live. Mwali muno n'abakazi. Ng'alaba for him he had crossed bano nga bajja because and they normally pass through that area at night because police ebeerera una the police doesn't allow ate police yeekulizamu those crocodiles because they don't want illegal immigration in South Africa because it is the only way. Once you go, once you go through that river, you go to the national park. From the national park, you can board to Cape Town. And most of those illegal immigrants that go to South Africa, they pass national park and also go India National Park. They normally pass through that area. So when this guy went to South Africa, uh, like like he did not know that he was going to become a drug a drug dealer who was to transport drugs. When he reached that place, he met this friend he was communicating with from Uganda. Then the guy told him that you're going to transport, you're going to be a messenger of drugs. He did the job for 2 months. Then he was arrested by the South African police by then. He spent 6 months behind the cells. He was released. He got another boss. He like kind of shit. The, by the way, that thing awakened me that all those people that, of course, that are in South Africa, I thought most of them they're dealing in drugs because I've seen a lot of people in our village. Like they say, for me, they went to South Africa to do stuff, but most of them they're dealing in drugs. Really, they are dealing in drugs. So he used to like to be in that life of being jailed out until he was taken to Eritrea to do the same job. When he was taken to Eritrea, he was caught on airport with drugs still, but it was this real cannabis. He was taken then from he was imprisoned there for 5 years, then deported back to Uganda. Terrible situation. So should we expect now the government of South Africa, after legalizing cannabis use for personal use, if I may say, should we expect that people are not going to be people are not going to be arrested anymore? People's gardens for cannabis are not going to be sprayed with cannabis anymore. Should we expect that? Are we expecting that now? So, the groundbreaking step forward in cannabis reform in South Africa, we see that they are legalizing the cultivation and possession of the plant for personal use. With, of course, President Ramaphosa's final approval, we see that South Africa becomes the first African country to legalize cannabis for personal use. However, President Ramaphosa signed the Cannabis for Private Purposes Act. Uh, we see that removing cannabis from the Drug to Drug Trafficking Act, this move enables amendments to the Medicines and Related Substance Act. So the Plant Breeders' Right Act and the Plant Improvement Act to support the industrialization of cannabis sector in South Africa. Most of the cannabis that is taken out of South Africa, this is processed cannabis, like I said. Jib Jabba, for me, I was saying that there is no average person that refines cannabis in South Africa. We have drug lords in South Africa that are not even uh, black South Africans in South Africa. They are processing this, they are selling this out in South Africa. They are selling this of course, to German and other European countries. Uh, so why is it that the government is regularizing this? It's for the benefit of the individuals and the companies. It's for the benefit of the individuals and the companies. But when we talk about the medical benefits of cannabis, we can't forget about, we know that cannabis is used medically to treat chronic pain and, of course, um, multiple serious and mental health conditions. Cannabis also, like the CBD and these are active compounds in cannabis that, of course, many therapists use. It may also help with alcoholism and drug addiction by reducing craving. So, We see that mm, um, however much cannabis bring a lot of health issues in human body, but it also aids in, of course, in helping in, of course, in many of the chronic issues in human body. South Africa being one of actually one of the leading countries in Africa producing drugs and using drugs to in higher consumptions, we see that there might be a lot of factors that are contributing to the use of drugs in South Africa. And one of the factors we see that um, the social demographic characteristics in South Africa contribute so much to the drug use among South Africans. Let them be youth, let them be old or children. But in South Africa, we see that substance use is prevalent among high school learners, with alcohol, cigarettes, and of course marijuana being the most abused substances. So the social demographic characteristics, when you look at high school learners within South Africa, these people consume a lot of drugs, alcohol, and cigarettes. So if at all the youths we see these people consuming these drugs when they are in school. So what do we expect at the end? So availability. So the mean age during the experimentation is reported to be at 12 years, indicating that drugs are easily accessible in South Africa. Talking about the old, the adults growing or using drugs in South Africa, due to the availability of drugs in South Africa, we see that the mean age of drug experimentation is, of course, reported to be 12 years. A kid of 12 years taking drugs in South Africa due to the availability. Whenever you look in the corners, you look at drugs in South Africa. So it becomes so easy for these youths to consume uh, drugs because they are so near to them, they are so available to these, of course, kids. So the other reason is, of course, the peer pressure. So this is a common thing that I grew up knowing. Like if you have a lot of friends, they're doing something that is either good or bad. At times you're influenced by this, of course, by these friends. So the peer pressure, this is significant. This is a significant influence on substance use among adolescents in South Africa, and not only in South Africa, even in other African countries. Whenever you're having a peer, whenever you're having a group or a company that you believe you have the same thoughts, you believe in the same ideologies, you share moments, like you come in the same place. Actually, it might not be in the same place, but if at all you always share moments, you can be easily influenced to use drugs, or you can even influence. Peer pressure doesn't influence bad things only. It can be a group of people that are solvers, that are doing good things in, of course, in the community. But at a time was peer, of course, pressure or influence leads to a lot of criminal activities, things that are not good. So the other thing we see that poverty and unemployment also leads to, of course, to use of drugs in South Africa. We see that these socioeconomic factors contribute to the increase in drug use. Whenever people are redundant, they used to tell us that an idle mind is a devil's workshop. Whenever people have nothing to do, they resort to taking drugs. Like I said, um, most of the ghetto areas in South Africa, these are people that are occupied by the blacks and the youths. So what do these people do? Taking drugs every time and then. So due to the poverty and unemployment, and most of these people they are not educated. Even when they are educated, they are looking for jobs. They are not seeing jobs anywhere. So poverty in South Africa has also made very many people to resort to drugs, either in terms of tradings, they like dealing in drugs for selling drugs as an alternative to earn a living, or taking drugs to of course to relieve stress among themselves. So we see that migration is also another significant factor that is causing, of course, that is causing drug use in South Africa. So we see that both illegal and illegal migration has played a role in the increased drug abuse in South Africa. I've been narrating a story of a friend to my brother who traveled to South Africa illegally, and he ended up being a drug dealer, a drug messenger. They could send him here and then to transport drugs. And by the way, transporting drugs is also a bit risky. I normally see a lot of people, they normally even swallow these drugs within their bodies and transport. You know, swallowing something into your body just because of money. Just because I normally see people like swallowing these drugs to be transported. They swallow them. So another thing, uh, uh, another thing we see that the culture factors. We see that the arrival of new youth movements such as the rebel culture have also facilitated drug use. We have seen at times very many South Africans rioting to legalize this drug. Finally, it has been legalized for private use. However, a lot of things need to be revised in this. How are people going to, of course, to benefit in this? It's going to promote the illegal market GB Chaba talked about, because there are people that are having big chunks. There are people that are having big. So we see that Yes, however, we see that illegal cannabis trade per now in South Africa remains unresolved. We see that unlike countries like countries such as Malta, Canada, and of course Hungary, South Africa has not established a legal framework for the casual purchase of cannabis. So we see that while adults can grow their own plants, selling cannabis without a medical prescription is still prohibited. So, Clark explained that while individuals caught with cannabis are no longer considered drug dealers, their market remains largely unregulated, leading to thriving grey market. Okitegedde? Wulira nti we see that like in South Africa per now, if you're caught with cannabis, it's no longer considered like you're no longer a drug dealer. However, the market remains largely unregulated, leading to thriving grey market or illegal market Jibjaba was talking about. Mm.
Now all the entire Nigeria is going to South Africa.
Mm. So this legislative change follows 2018 court ruling that private consumption of cannabis was constitutional. Since then, the government has permitted the sale of cannabis under the Section 21 of the Medicines Act, allowing for unregistered medicines if prescribed by the doctor. So, economically, economic implications, of course, and ongoing challenges. We see that the end of cannabis prohibition in South Africa could have a significant economic implication. So, these dispensaries we see that are everywhere in South Africa. The dispensaries are everywhere in South Africa. So the proliferation of cannabis clubs and of course dispensaries has created a de facto market with many establishments operating under the principle of private consumption. However, uncertainties in the law have led to periodic enforcement actions, such as the 2020 raid on the Hazard Club in Johannesburg. So that South Africa's history with cannabis, locally known as dagga, dates back to centuries. So the plant was used by indigenous Khoisan people and later by Zulu warriors and Sotho women for various purposes. So despite its deep cultural roots, cannabis was outlawed in 1922 with the harsh penalties imposed during apartheid rule in South Africa. So legalization, legitimation, and future outlook. We see that the modern push for legalization began in 2017 with a case brought by a Rastafarian lawyer, Ras Gareth Prince. The Western Cape High Court ruled that prohibiting cannabis violated his right to privacy. So the decision, upheld by the Constitutional Court in 2018, this ruling mandated the government to revise its laws against cannabis in South Africa. So a process that culminated in the recent legislative change. So Clark and other activists are now focused on regulating the trade, challenging the lingering perception of cannabis as dangerous drug. So we see that when we look at the regional impact and potential domino effect, South Africa cautious uh, approach may help it, of course, avoid the backlash similar to Thailandese. So, where rapid cannabis reform led to a moral panic and potentially legislative reversals. So, as the first African nation to legalize recreational cannabis use, South Africa's decision could influence neighboring countries such as Eswatini, a landlocked kingdom surrounded by South Africa, Mozambique, and Mozambique. So, is closely monitoring developments. Local cannabis growers fear that South Africa's legalization may threaten their livelihood. So we see that Trevor Shongwe of the Eswatini Hemp and Cannabis Association expressed concerns about the economic impact and smallholder farmers who rely on cannabis cultivation. So we see that uh, uh, we see that sorry guys for that inconvenience. Mm-hmm. And second one said subfamily peace Jaba. Then
And yeah.
mosquito said that without INNOSSETU again um, say we don't understand all this English. I know you understand, Geno Mosquito. I'm sure you understand my English. I'm quite sure you understand. I'm sure I'm seeing Keith in the building. Hello,
What's
Mr.
going
Black
on,
of
Santa?
Car.
What's going on? Where's Where's Maria ass at?
All right, she's around.
She's around? Okay, okay.
Yeah,
She,
she can hear you.
okay. Okay, let her know I gotta pay it. Let her know I gotta pay her no good butt in a minute.
Huh?
I gotta pay you no good butt in a minute. It's like once I stop.
My butt is good though.
if, if you say so, what's the topic of discussion there, Seto?
My butt
What's
is
the topic?
good.
Okay, your butt is good. Okay, okay. That's not what I heard around Uganda. They said you you make sure you tell Maria no good butt about life in Uganda. I said, okay. What's the topic there, Santa? What you guys talking about?
We've been talking about South Africa legalizing cannabis use for personal use in
Uh,
South Africa.
hey, they don't need no cannabis. They already too stupid down there. They don't need to legalize no cannabis use in no South Africa. They already morons down there. No, no, no. You don't want you don't want to make them more stupid. That's a new scam by the white man. They don't need to legalize it because they won't own it. They won't own and control it. So unless they own it and control it, there's no benefit in legalizing that at all.
Mm.
You just you have a country full of they're already dumb and xenophobic down there. You don't you don't need them you don't need them high, dumb, and xenophobic there, Seto. No, they'll just be high, dumb, and xenophobic. No, and they still won't own it. You'll find all the white people getting rich off the cannabis business. You say, where the black people? Why don't own it? Because they're too stupid, and I'm not. We're not gonna let them own it. Like what?
Yeah.
But go ahead. How do you guys feel about them legalizing cannabis in South Africa? Do you guys agree with it?
Their legalization is a little bit funny because first of all they have said it is okay, it is illegal for you to grow.
So
They are
how's that?
saying
Okay,
uh,
it's a legal. So it's
even
illegal
some
for them to grow
places,
it. Then where's it
yeah,
coming
but
from, then, Maria? Where's it coming from? Who's growing it then?
mhm. But again they are saying you grow it privately. It's not allowed to be used publicly, which is kind of weird because if you have given someone the liberty to
Grow.
grow something in their own homes or in their own farms, now you are putting limitations or
Yeah,
limits on
because they only want white people to make money from it. Maria. That's what they're doing. That's the limitation to make sure white people benefit from growing it and distributing it. They let black people smoke the shit and be the customers and make white people rich. They let black people be the customers. Yeah, it's good to get fucked up, you goofy niggas in South Africa. That's all come get fucked up. But you won't own it and you won't benefit from the wealth that it generates. That's a scam. If I remember, wasn't Uganda selling marijuana to Canada and other places?
Well, Uganda, they had legalized it at a certain time.
They were wanting to
But
legalize it. I mean, not Rwanda, but Uganda. Did Uganda legalize it?
they had, but
For
that was
women,
telling
yes.
me they again. It was still. Are you sure was it a debatable issue?
I think it was.
I think it was still under debate. But we see country like
Okay, because I know
Zimbabwe.
Uganda. Yeah, what about Zimbabwe? Is legal in Zimbabwe?
Yeah, it's legal to farm that.
It's legal for the it's legal for the people to smoke it in Zimbabwe,
Not
or
to
just
grow
sell it
it.
outside the country. Oh yeah, to grow. Okay,
Mm.
yeah, okay, they can grow it, but they can't just like be walking on the street smoking
No.
joints, can they? You know, anybody just be walking on the street smoking in Zimbabwe, can they?
Hmm. That's why it's legal. They have legalized it's of course farming or growth, but
I'm saying,
the
can they
consumption
just, can they, yeah, consumption, can they just consume it, Maria, on the streets of Zimbabwe?
no,
Can they still just consume it?
no, no.
So, so yeah. So I'm thinking it's supposed to be like white farmers in Zimbabwe, which they have, selling it to Europe for medicinal purposes. I think that's what Uganda was doing. I think Uganda was selling the production of cannabis to like Canada and other places.
Malta.
Say it again, Zeto.
Like you talked about countries that legalized cannabis use. I was talking about, you talked about Canada. I also talked about Malta, that is also among those countries.
Talking about who?
Malta.
Malta. Who does Malta?
It's a,
what, what country? What country you talking about? What country is Malta? What you talking about?
Malta. It is a country in southern Europe.
Yeah, he's okay. He's talking about Malta that sits in. Okay, he's talking about Malta that sits in the damn That's in the Mediterranean. Yeah, Malta's in the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What about Malta? Malta made this legal or what?
Like like selling cannabis or drugs in that country, it is legal to sell them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm breaking up or you're breaking up. It might be me breaking up.
Mm.
You are breaking up.
Eh,
It,
so,
it might be me.
mm. However, we see that legal cannabis trade in South Africa now remains unresolved because we see that cannabis, of course, people are caught or individuals caught with cannabis are no longer considered drug dealers in South Africa. So the market remains largely unregulated, leading to thriving grey market in South Africa. So
Okay.
a lot of it is these people that have been selling these drugs on large amount that are going to benefit in this. So these people that are growing it on a smaller scale, they're going to sell it to those people that are having it, that are exporting it to South Africa.
A lot of those guys are Setos frozen. Let me know if you guys can hear me or not. Either I frozen or Setos frozen. It may be me. I'm in
Yeah,
the
I think,
backwoods of Texas. Oh, there you go. Okay.
but we can hear you now.
All right.
Hmm.
Check your phone. Check your phone, Maria.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
All right.
Let me check my phone.
Yeah. Check your phone.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Don't go out and buy no cannabis with that, Maria.
But can I don't smoke that weed. I think it is. It is.
don't,
My head is too.
don't go out and take the ass payday. It's time to go get fucked up. Time to go get high.
I can't. I can't smoke. I can't use those because my head is very weak. I'm not enough to use drugs, really.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much, kid.
Mhm.
I had forgotten that it is my pay this week.
Okay. Well, I don't want you to forget it. Wake up tomorrow, you be angry. Call me Keith. Call me at 1 o'clock in the morning. Keith, where the fuck is my money at, nigga? Hey Maria. Hey Maria, what you talking? Maria, who's this? What's going on? You know what's going on. Where the fuck is my pay at?
Naja, it is innocent who reminded me that today is your payday. So I had totally forgotten. Hmm. Thank you.
You would have forgot the day, but you would call me early in the morning. Keith, why?
Ah,
What's going on, Maria? What's happening? Where my goddamn money? What money, Maria? My money! God damn it!
but I'm always patient. I'm always patient. Attentive. Anyway, thank you. So, we were looking at the drug use and this cannabis, the legalization of cannabis within the South African people. And the only thing that it's going to, of course, I don't want to use the word benefit, but we are going to see a higher rate of circulation of drugs within the South African community. And it's not the entire South Africa that is going to benefit from this, of course, this legalization, like we had said before. That we are going to have a lot of people that are going to consume this because for a very long time, South Africa has been consuming drugs. And we have seen even underage, even people who are teenagers, young children consuming drugs. 12 years old children consuming drugs. We have seen scenarios where South Africans claim they are killing West Africans. They are killing West Africans because nekalizamu ngambe musujja obadde ogenda ng'oyogeza mazima. So
They said
the people.
they said the West Africans are coming and taking their women, Maria.
So,
That's what they said. That's what they said on TikTok. That's what they say on TikTok. That's what they saying.
Why should I be taking their women? What's wrong? What's wrong with them?
That's what they said, Maria. I thought they were all African women. How they your women? The African women. South Africans are saying that especially the Nigerians are coming in here, you know, treating the women better and making sure they got money and treating them good. And the South Africans, they don't like that. South African man say, I'm broke, Maria. I ain't got no money to give my woman. How dare this Nigerian nigga come in here with his money and wine and dine my woman? That's what they saying on TikTok.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think a lot of people have a lot of myth about the Nigerian men. Hmm?
All
A lot
right.
of myth
I know.
about
They say
Nigerian men. I mean,
they that what the Kenyans say too. They say the Nigerians are coming into Kenya and taking all the coochie.
yeah, because it is a lot of people have speculations about that the Nigerian people that being
Mm-hmm.
signed and all that. There is a lot of speculation, but I believe there are people in the air. You cannot tell me that the entire Nigeria that has people with that whatever size. A lot of Nigerian men be advertising themselves with.
I don't know. I'm just telling you what the South African women are saying.
I don't
That's what
believe in that.
I mean men are saying. That what the Kenyan men are saying. I know that's what they say, and also, and remember we had Rumizar in Zimbabwe? He said you got the Nigerians in Zimbabwe snatching up the Zimbabwean women. Yeah, I remember because I asked Rumizar, is that happening in Zimbabwe too? With the Nigerians? Yeah, everybody, the Nigerian men are coming and snatching up all the Zimbabwean women. I said, damn.
But I
Now,
don't know.
hold on, Maria. Are the Nigerian men snatching up the Ugandan women too, Maria? Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
But most of the women they are snatching at the prostitutes in the country.
Huh?
Most of the women they are having are the prostitutes that are known countrywide.
I'm just saying in Kampala. Are the
I've not seen,
Nigerian men
yeah, I've not seen Nigerian men having humble
snatching up
women
the
either.
Ugandan women, Maria?
Most of the
In
women they are
Kampala.
having prostitutes. Mm-mm. No chituku.
Most of the most of the women are what?
Most of the women that these Nigerian men here have are the ones we call the street women.
Ah, get out of here. They're not the prostitutes. Get out
I'm
of here,
telling you
Maria.
that you can still go in and Google. You can still go in and you will still
You
find
try, you try to tell me they coming all the way to Uganda to get the street women. Get out of here, Maria.
these are the women we are getting. These are
Nah,
the women who are
nah.
Nigerian men want to date women with no purpose. No, for you are denying this. They don't get someone for just love. They are going in for love and something more. Maybe the love is not in the picture. And this is why we've been having people having fake passports and all that. They just don't date you if they know they cannot climb. They can't use you as a ladder to climb. We have seen one of I've seen one of we have seen one of the one commonly known prostitute in the country who is known as Bad Black. She has dated this Nigerian. She's even an ambassador of some of their brands. She's a non-prostitute all over. She says that she was once arrested and all the story goes on. And we still would see one celebrity lady, she sings, but we know her story with men. And then she also dated this Nigerian guy who later, of course, posted her nudes all over social media. and all
Okay.
that. So we've seen them. These are the category of women they've been having, and these are the category of women they are having.
I don't know, Maria. I
I'm
don't know.
telling you, now you will know. Apart from who are in school, because we have a lot of Nigerians in universities here. Maybe those ones get their fellow
There's a,
students in university.
there's a lot of Nigerians everywhere, Maria. Everywhere.
No, I know, but Muhammad must be proud. This is my prostitute mom must be proud of her. Maria may be telling the truth. She's a private investigator after all. But you know, Mazi. But um, this is because first of all, Nigerians will go to most of the Nigerians here. Like I said before, a Nigerian is not going to date you when he's not going to benefit. Now, the majority of these people here are that, apart from the students who are in school, these who are not in universities are drug dealers. All right, so they have to
Hold
get
on.
the who
Hold on,
are
Maria.
out.
All the Nigerians in Uganda that are not in school are drug dealers. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Most of them, let me explain. Most of them are dealing in drugs, and you cannot just get a woman who is not out there to help you in your drug business. You are either going to find a prostitute who is meeting a lot of other men, and she should be probably on a level of meeting other celebrities, because the kind of drugs the Nigerians sell is not this cheap drug that can usually be gold. There is expensive drugs they usually sell. So these expensive drugs are consumed by people who have money. So when someone is there, of course, you have to meet that kind of woman who is exposed to your buyers. And when they're in a relationship, usually they're using these women to be their middle women, middle men, to connect them to the buyers. He knows this woman is reaching places. He goes to hotels. He knows some big men. And you find that this woman is the handler of this business. Because there are some places Nigerians may not be able, I don't think it is. That Maria, did the Nigerian man break your heart? Jimmy Jabba, you can't say that. No, I'm just telling you like what happens here. In this place, INNOSSETU is my witness. We have like a lot of Nigerians around. We
No.
have
Kenyans,
and
even
Kenyans, by the way.
Kenyans.
Around our apartment, we have got a lot of Kenyans over here around, and then we got Nigerians around. Now, there is one Nigeria who has a building. He owns the entire building. They call it a Nigerian house. And I think they have even named that street Nigerian Street, whatever. But this guy's house is extremely soundproof. Hmm? And when he started the business, he usually says he deals in liquid soap. Hmm? But if you look at the money he has, it cannot only be liquid soap. He is so very private. He does not allow people to enter that apartment. It is him, the family, and the people who work around. But people are very crazy. There is a way he built the house in his Nigerian format. It looks a little bit weird. So
Yeah.
you can see the house and it is just out of place. Like everyone, so why is this house like this? So people decided to claim they wanted to see why is this guy so like this, and he has like a grinding mill. What is this guy grinding inside that house?
I
Because
don't
I tell
know.
you, the house. No, you. I don't know. He has like a grinding mill. He grinds whatever it is grinding in there, and he makes sure that his house is soundproof. He doesn't make any, you don't hear anything that is taking place.
Um, how you
That,
guys know
that
he got? How you guys know he got a grinding mill now? How you
yeah,
guys know that?
because there are people who work there. And
Okay.
how did it happen? The police raided that area.
Hmm.
So the police noticed that when that guy had that bought land and built that house, a lot of Nigerians started living around this area. Now, a
Oh.
lot of these Nigerians, I think he would get them from Nigeria, and they were his handlers. But he wasn't staying with them. I think not to, of course, attract people's attention. But most of them were renting some apartments around here, and each time you would see cars enter, come out, stuff like that. So I guess, and something happened. I don't know, but someone leaked the information about this guy. But with corruption, people have to follow you. They want to know what you do so that they can arrest you. And not to arrest you to stop the evil you are doing, but because they want to extort money from you. So this is how the police got to know about this guy, but because he had money, they released him and he's still running that business. Whatever he grinds in there, I don't know. How can you have a grinding mill in the house? Do you get what I'm
I
saying?
don't
For
know
me,
because he's paying the police. He's grinding down his drugs.
I think so too, because he was arrested, but after some time he was released. When you have money. Mm. And I think he had Gideon said it's called a pill mill. It grinds pills. It's a pill mill. So he was of course arrested, but again later released. Now you can see these people usually I don't know what it is with the drugs and the Nigerian people, but maybe they have where they get such kind of drugs. Maybe they manufacture them or they get them. I don't know. But there are certain kind of drugs that are not consumed by the local people.
Uh,
You have to have money for you to consume a certain amount of drug or a certain type of drug. And
yeah, the Nigerians are bringing in that white horse bread,
they
that
are bringing,
cocaine, the white pony, cocaine.
and they have introduced that, and we are seeing a lot of people. Before we had a lot of celebrities who were smoking weed, and everyone knew about it. But the effect of weed is a little bit different from these other drugs.
Yeah, weed is not a hard drug unless you put
Mm.
some in. It's not gonna get you addicted unless it's been synthesized.
There
So
is
not
also
bad.
what here people talk about. It's called ice or coke. I don't know. Ice.
Hmm?
There is a
Ice.
drug. There is a drug. Ice coke. I don't know. Why am I even saying coke?
Yeah, yeah, you got it right. About ice, ice.
Ice.
Yeah,
Ice.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
not. That's a synthetic. It's like synthetic. Okay, it's ice and it's an amphetamine, like like with the Chinese fentanyl. It's an opioid.
I don't
What,
know, but
bro?
ice is making a lot of people lose weight. You are seeing and even people are going mad with the use of that drug. There is a way it is making
Yeah,
people look so weird, like they are kind of malnourished, like they have issues with
and
their
make you
health.
skinny. Yeah, it's a synthetic drug. Make you walk around butt naked. You take off your clothes and walk around butt naked, hollering, Maria. You'll be butt naked, girl.
And there are people who come out publicly. There is one lady, I think she was doing prostitution in Dubai. She was known because for her, she was publicly telling the world that she does that. And when she came, she had lost weight and all that. So they were interviewing her, and she said, I take ice. And I was like, ice, what's that? And I take, she ice. I said,
This Maria's on naive. He said, I take ice versus ice. What's that?
oh, sorry, that's why I was interviewing. Why? Why is she taking
Maria's all
ice?
naive. Maria's all naive. Ice was that. Okay, go ahead, Maria. Finish the story. Go
And she
ahead.
said, I take ice. I'm addicted to taking ice. We buy ice from Nigerians. We got some Nigerians who sell ice and all kind of
Uh,
stuff. And she was looking really so bad.
mhm.
She was so bad, like she a little bit. She was about to go crazy.
Yeah, I told you. Ice will fuck you up, Maria. You think I'm joking? That ice will have you walk around butt naked, howling in the street. For
True.
real. It's that bad. I say, you hollering butt naked in the street, bro. Ah! Ah! And you'll be butt ass naked. And you won't know why you naked. You're like, say, hey, Maria, stop. Say, what's going on? She's like, why am I naked? We don't know, but we're trying to stop you acting crazy.
So there are a lot of drugs here, and a lot of people are not. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it is me, but I don't know.
I
But
actually,
maybe
I
I don't
had no
know.
idea that ice was in Uganda. God damn. They got ice in Uganda. Shit.
Mhm.
Wow. That's crazy. They got ice in Uganda. Ice, 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 ice.
And they say it's expensive.
Actually,
That's
it's
true.
supposed to be cheap. It's a synthetic drug. Supposed to be. It's supposed to be cheap though.
Tujibula kuba Nigeria ice. Kuba inafaa
Ice is
ukiyolinga ice.
it's supposed to be cheap. Ice
Nako
is
badini.
synthetic. It's not supposed to be expensive, guys. Ice is supposed to be cheap because it's a synthetic drug. It's synthetic. It's supposed to
Hey,
be cheap.
I'm telling you, that is your ice. So I was even wondering, my God.
Seto, Seto, don't allow no priest to give you no ice. You're like, no, I'm good. Not allow the priest to give you ice. If the priest give you ice, Seto, you're gonna wake up butt naked and all kind of shit didn't happen to you. Don't allow it, brother. Don't do it.
First, for me, I thought that drug is for losing weight.
Ice.
Yeah.
losing, you're losing weight.
I told you, people lose weight, they're becoming slim. But maybe when
you
they
don't,
do it, they eat.
you don't want to lose weight that way, Seto.
Yeah,
You,
hydrate.
you don't want to lose weight that way. That's dangerous. That's dangerous weight loss. Oh no. Say no. Say no to the ice.
I know one of the MPs who passed. She was taking too much drugs. They told her she's going to lose weight when she takes the
She,
drugs.
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I think she took an overdose. Through that, the drugs, she became addicted. And one time she,
Say,
I think, took overdose and
say no to
passed.
the ice. Say no to the ice diet. No.
You will not have next to TD jokes. Ha 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 jokes. It is, I don't know. But of course, we know those drugs, how they are brought. I don't know how they are made, but we have seen most of the people who are dealing with these drugs. But Nigeria, they are, but me, I'm Balabie. They have restaurants that prepares their traditional meals. But when you reach the restaurants, you find a lot of their handlers. And the restaurants are usually in more quiet areas. So you find a lot of people pretending that you are going to eat Nigerian meals. But people will go there purposely to buy these things. And most of the people also who handle. One thing I know, that lady, she's very addicted now. If you look at her, she looks so terrible. Even she couldn't go
Yeah.
back to Dubai. She's around, she's always moving naked. I don't know what kind of clothes she wears
See,
all the time.
see, he's always
But
way
she,
moving naked. I told you. I told you,
when
you'd be naked.
I don't know, that makes people's body hot that they don't want to put on clothes.
Dogs are even
Each time they're interviewing her, she's scratching her head. They're asking her questions, she's scratching. I said, what is wrong with her? All the time she's scratching her head each time. And her lips are so dry, like she looks dehydrated. But what she didn't mention was
Yeah,
that she's a
real.
handler. All right. She came from Dubai. She was a pro. She was a prostitute, a pro prostitute in Dubai. She had a big TikTok account. She was coordinating
Wow.
bank
Was that the one that
something.
just died? Was that the one that just died?
I don't know.
Was it?
No, no, not that one.
Okay,
You
'cause
get
there's a
another
lady just
story.
died from his lady just died from Kenya, and she died in Dubai. She was on a TikToker. I forgot her name. She just died. I think today or yesterday or some shit. Like wow.
No, this one was a Ugandan. She's
Okay, okay.
she was young, a beautiful young Ugandan lady. But when she was very open with her prostitution work, at times she would show some dollars and all that kind of stuff when she's smoking. What do you call it? That shisha. Yeah, she was smoking those things on live on her TikTok and all that. And I
Mm,
think this is how she got to mix with of course, the Nigerians in Uganda.
wow.
They invited her. I'm telling you now, these are the people they are attracted to. They invited
Mm,
her to come. When she came to Uganda, they gave her, they gave her that, they gave her,
they gave it a what?
they gave her, of course, I think that job, and they wanted her to be a handler, to handle
Mm.
their drugs, the ice, and all those other things. So when
Yeah,
she came back
they
from
wanted her to be a mule.
yeah, so when she came back from Dubai, of course, and had already those guys promising, I think when she calculated the amount of money that she was getting, maybe was yeah impressive. So she joined and she started dealing with the drugs. She going, she was taken to those big places, meeting big men. She was young, beautiful. You talk to her and then she tells you, maybe I'm selling stuff. I don't know how they sell their stuff, but maybe that's how they do it. So she could meet with these people, and when a prostitute is involved, there is no way police or the government can arrest a man from having a woman that he wants to have sex with, as long as that person is an adult. So this is why most of these drug dealers prefer using women, because there is no question to that. If a man is with a woman, no one is going to question. Not Dela Mkwa.
So it's better have a woman at a night, huh?
So as I through when she started using those things, she also began to get addicted. She started to
Mm.
consume the drugs that she was selling. She started to consume. Now she lost her job because again
No.
the Nigerians were making losses. Instead of selling, she was just consuming.
They made her an addict, and now Now she was fucking up the profits. Now she was smoking
Yeah,
up. Now she was smoking up the profits, Maria. They can't have that. They usually beat your ass when you do shit like that.
so
You
they
know,
had to let her go. But now she's an addict. I don't think she
man.
can go back to Dubai or whatever.
She's an addict now. She's no use to him now. She's an addict now. She's no use to him now.
Hmm.
Wow, it's crazy. You know, dangerous work, boy. They get you locked up. You go to Dubai, get caught with them drugs. They give you the death penalty, lock you up for life. That kind of shit.
Mm.
So I won't be your Nigerian drug mule for nothing. Shit. Go back and tell Tinubu to fix the country. I can't be no walking around being no drug mule for your ass. That's a no.
Mm.
That's a no no.
So can you
Yeah, but say it's a beautiful conversation. Take your family, stay well. GB Jabba. Flat is from Geno Mosquito says, are you saying set will be power bottom?
Ay, yeah.
But I guess that girl was called a lot better than
Mm-mm.
stuff. I used to see her with a lot of celebrities, very naked,
Yes, babe.
nothing. She had nothing on body to preserve. Everything was out. But I see a lot of Ugandan youths when you walk around Kampala streets. Whenever you are, wherever you put your eyes, you see a lot of youths taking drugs. I'm like, where do these people? Like we were talking about this aeroplane what fuel.
Mm.
Keith,
Huh?
did you know that do people at that side use aeroplane fuel as a drug?
Yeah, they use all kind of damn fuel as a drug, gasoline, uh, damn airplane fuel. They'll use um, sniffing glue. They'll sniff glue.
Uh-huh.
They use all kind of weird shit.
Yeah.
You know, they sniff old people's ass cheeks. Anything to get high. Shit, it's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, when people have despair, Seto, they lose hopelessness. That usually causes drugs. They can't get a job. They can't feed themselves or their family. That causes despair. So the system that this European has designed is right for drug use because everybody's in despair. Everybody, there's a sense of hopelessness, and so drugs is a way of escaping your problem. So sadly, that's what it's used for. And then you don't know before when you start using, you think you'll be all right, but next you know, you're an addict. And once you're an addict, oh my God, that's a terrible way. Once you're an addict, you're an addict.
Brenda Miles.
Yeah. Brenda Miles. Brenda Miles. Really? Those days when she was still in Dubai. Ngai no
Nope,
munene
it's not.
wa Malawi.
It's not. It's not all the internet messed up. No, it's the Kenyan internet is fucked up. Because Uganda's internet is good with Seto and them. It's Kenya's internet that's all fucked up. So it ain't the East African internet. Because you said, oh, it's East. No, it ain't East Africa. It's Kenyan internet that's fucked up. We thought it was all East Africa. No, Seto and Maria's internet is fine. It's, it's the it's the Kenyan internet that I'm paying for. That's absolutely garbage. It's not getting no discount. This internet it's been like this for the last 3 weeks. This internet is garbage. Absolute garbage. Can't understand what Noah's show was done. You on both of them. The mosquito, you on both shows. You on the show here with them on Facebook, and you on the show on YouTube with Demore talk about African news. You can't even watch that shit. The internet's too damn bad. He's like, today in Kenya, this is what's happening. Can I show you what is going on? You're like, what? Yeah. You're like, what? You're like, what the hell is going on? You want to tell me I have more advanced Kenya is in Uganda? At least they got better. Yes, the internet is very frustrating. It is. It's bad, General Mosquito. The shows are unwatchable. The whole week last, the shows are unwatchable. It's that bad in Kenya right now. The internet is that bad. The shows, you know, if I didn't have to, pay, make sure they keep them a job, I shut it down until the internet got better because the shows are unwatchable. You can't watch that shit on replay. They're that bad. The internet is that bad that the shows are unwatchable. You don't know what the hell somebody's saying. Like tomorrow, when they do the joint show, you'll understand Seth and Maria, but you won't understand them. They'll be, hey, Seth, so, and Maria. Like, this ain't gonna work. This shit is horrible. I mean, it's bad. God damn. So it ain't because of the cable, because Uganda's in there, you guys see, it's all right. This some Kenya shit. So they can't say they can say it's East Africa. It ain't East Africa. Set on them, internet is fine. I hear Seto good. I hear Maria good. They're not talking like robots. Hey, this is what's happening in the Sudan. What? What are you saying?
That's it.
What? The hell's happening in the Sudan? They have been killing people. Oh man, I can't watch this shit. You just turned off the Morris show. Yeah, it's unwatchable, General Mosquito. I seen you over there. It's unwatchable. You cannot. It's unwatchable. And it's unwatchable. If I had so many people depending on me to keep them employed, I shut it down until we get to internet because it's unwatchable. No one's gonna watch that shit. You can't make that shit out. You can't replay it. It's horrible. It's bad. Let me go over there real quick. Oh, he already ended it. Yeah, I'm about to go. This shit is horrible. I'm just being honest. It's downright horrible. It's unwatchable. Like, wow, I know what you're saying. Sound like you're talking Chinese backwards.
Oh, yeah.
Shit don't
General
watch it.
Mosquito, General Mosquito says that ever since Ruto started through Kenya under the bus, the internet connection has been terrible.
Some general mosquito.
Yeah, that's been the whole thing. It's been terrible for the last week and a half. I mean, bad, bad. Because we thought it was all East Africa, but it's not because Central and them internet is fine. So it's not all East Africa. They can be Tanzania, Rwanda. They thought it was a cable cut. No, their internet is fine. Nothing wrong with Central and Maria's internet. That Kenyan internet is god damn.
Mhm.
It, internet is terrible. God damn. Wow. Can't listen. And even the guys left on TikTok last week, they said, we can't watch this. This internet is terrible. They were honest. I wasn't mad at them. I said, they're right. Because they watched the show on TikTok. They guys said, you guys' show used to be good. We can't watch this. This unwatchable. And they're right. I don't know what the fuck they. I don't even know what the fuck they saying. I was on a show. I was on a show with Miss Uganda Irritan. I didn't know what the hell she's saying. She didn't know what the hell I was saying. That shit was crazy.
You guys.
Yes, Uganda.
Sasa kunnomya amannya. Oli naye Musomali. Naye Musomali, sama mu Ethiopia, sama mu Italy.
Waliwo obudde there is time like internet it could read but it could be very slow. Naye tubeera ng'ekwetuli it turns off. I'm sure it will get better.
It usually does. It usually gets better. Yeah, of course it will. Even for us, at times the internet disturbs. Not just like bakayimba tukotoze one. Anyway, our time is up. Thank you so much, General Mosquito, GB Jabba,
All right.
Ken Warren. Keith, thank you so much for joining our show.
Yes, ma'am.
Who was here?
The only show I can understand right now. Shit.
All right. Let me see what was here. General Mosquito, GB Jabba, and Sinking One. No one else. William wasn't here. All right. Those and the silent majorities were watching, and of course, think it has been me, Africa Maria, with my colleague INNOSSETU, broadcasting live from Kampala,
Peace.
Uganda.
And you guys don't do no ice. Peace. I'm out of it. Don't do ice. Don't do ice. Because if you guys do ice, you and Seth will be running around Kampala butt naked, talking crazy.
You will see us coming live and INNOSSETU removing his shirt. And the next will be me. Terrible. But anyway, we are not icy. We are not doing no ice. But thank you so much, guys, for watching our show and always support and love and love for
Peace.
finding one. Peace, and it's a pleasure having you here. Bye bye. See you tomorrow, of course. So now this had killed the market for, of course.